Welcome to the University of Karate.
You are with the University of Karate, where we come to examine the techniques, culture, history, science, methods, all the various parts of what we call the martial arts. At the University of Karate, we are looking at every aspect that we can to help both chronicle, record, and give insight into some of these methods that these techniques can be understood and broadened by those listening and sharing this media. We have another topic that we're going to be looking at with Sensei Mike Biddle. Sensei Mike Biddle has been practicing the martial arts for over 40 years, and his main style, Uechi-Ryu, is just one of a few styles that he's practiced, which go into Aikido, Eskrima, Judo. Again, being a practitioner at the University of Karate, he had a wide range of martial arts he was exposed to that altogether blended into what he practices today. We're talking about Uechi-Ryu Karate today, also known as Pangai Noon, and our topic today is called the 8 Uechi-Ryu Katas: the good, the bad, and the mostly bad. Now, again, he's laughing at that title, but again, the good, the bad, and the mostly bad. Some are not Uechi-Ryu practitioners, and they don't know that Uechi-Ryu has only 8 katas. Some say, oh, Uechi-Ryu has 8 katas, that's a lot of katas. Well, what if I told you that Uechi-Ryu, or what we know as Uechi-Ryu, when it originally came from China with Kanbum Uechi, only had 3 katas. Only 3. Sanchin, Seisan, and Sansei-Ryu. Only 3. And I'll even go further than that. That all that Kanbun taught was Sanchin and Seisan. The kata Sansei-Ryu was taught to his son, Keinai Uechi, shortly before he died. And Keinai Uechi taught Sansei-Ryu to Saburo Uhara, one of, or I should say, Sensei Kanbun's best student. And the two of them taught everyone else in the Uechi community Sansei-Ryu. So all that were taught Sansei-Ryu came from these two men, Kane and Saburo. So originally, imagine him teaching for 20, 30 years, and everyone that studied only knew 2 katas, and they were good. I mean, really amazingly good. Had iron body, fast, strong, excellent technicians, with just 2 kata. Now, if you study Taekwondo or some of these different styles, some of these styles have 18, 24, 30 katas that are taught. The idea of having more kata from a historical standpoint was brought about because the idea that Americans, or even just people that were affected by Western thought, could not concentrate on just 2 kata. They needed new things. They needed new belts, new prizes, new kata. They needed something to keep them interested as they were going through these important so-called original foundational katas. So the 3 katas eventually were being taught at one time, but then they started adding in around 1953 or 4, they started having committees with Sensei Tamayoshi, Sensei Uhara, Sensei Uechi, and others. They came together and made these committees where they started making other katas. Sanchin was already there. Seisan was already there. Sansei-Ryu was already there. But Kanchin, Kanshiwa, Seiru, all these various other katas were created by this board in the 1950s. Today we want to talk with Sensei Biddle and examine the idea of these 8 katas, because 5 more were added: the good, the bad, and the mostly bad. What does that mean, Sensei Biddle? We talk about the good, bad, and the mostly bad.
Yeah, that's sort of an expression I came up with because, so the good is sort of the obvious answer that as John said, that we had Sanchin, Seisan, Sansei-Ryu. Now, Sansei-Ryu, you've got to set that aside for a moment because that's the Holy Grail. That baby is something special. And that's where a lot of the bad comes in, but we'll get there. So you had Sanchin, Seisan, and Sansei-ryu was really taught when you were ready. Initially, it didn't have anything to do with what rank you were. My instructor would dangle that out, and he'd do it all the time. He goes, "No, we're not learning Sansei-ryu today." No. In fact, he taught it to me before he retired. Sort of the same thing. It was like, okay. And I'm getting goosebumps. He told me what it was. But I had to be there. It wasn't just a thing. So let's go with this. Let's go with the good again. So you have the 3 kata, and like John said, the committees came together and they said, well, let's add some new techniques, some new things. And the good about that is that they express techniques with these katas and different movement patterns, and they did a really good job that staying within the constraints of the system. There's nothing weird. There's maybe a couple things, but in general, all of it is within the system, and that's brilliant. So when I'm not knocking the kata. Don't take me wrong on this. I think that I understand the reason and I understand the desire, and I think they accomplished it, and I think they did a brilliant job of doing it. And is there anything wrong with doing it? No. And yes. That's where I want to go now to the bad. I believe that we've blurred the lines by putting, you stick a couple katas in between Sanchin and Seisan, and a couple katas in between Seisan and Sansei-ryu. And in your mind, and I get it, you have this evolution of the techniques. But technique is irrelevant in general. There's a greater concept at play. And where the lines get blurred is if you take, so about 15 to 20 years ago, and maybe actually it's longer than that. There's a story there. We'll get into that about some of this later. I stopped doing the other kata. I just did Sanchin, Seisan, Sansei-ryu. I thought Kanbum had a method. Who am I to go around this? This is for me personally. I'm not saying it's no big deal. I don't care. For me though, I wanted to understand the concept of Sanchin, Seisan, Sansei-ryu. Because my instructor, now there's another segue to this, because he would say this a lot. He would talk about the circle of kata. And he excluded the other katas. He'd say you have Sanchin, Seisan, Sansei-ryu, and then you come back to Sanchin, and that's the circle. Now I want to set that aside again too, because that's just the concept. That's another piece, because there's other things to that. But what's important to understand, why I say the lines have been blurred, is because specifically Kanbum learned 3 styles that he blended into this one system, Tiger, Dragon, Crane. So you want to see the evolution of Tiger, Dragon, Crane. And I'm just going to stay on this for a moment because this is critically important. And why the other kata blur the lines, because it just, there's no other way to say it, it just blurs the transition. There is a clean transition. When I stopped doing the other kata, and I haven't done them in decades now, I probably could not do some of them. I mean, if I watch some videos, I could relearn them quickly, but I don't care. I don't care about the techniques. The techniques don't mean anything to me. When I started to do just Sanchin, Seisan, Sansei-ryu, and I would do these day after day, night after night, hour after hour, something strange began to happen. I started to see the movement and the evolution of Tiger, Dragon, Crane, and the expression within those 3 katas of Tiger, Dragon, and Crane. Because when you're doing Sanchin, you're moving in this specific pattern. Then you start adding in Seisan. It introduces pieces of Tiger. Well, Tiger's kind of always there, right? Because that Sanchin is pretty simple. There's Crane in it. You just don't know it. I guess that's my point. There's Tiger, Dragon, Crane in Sanchin, but you don't know it. I can do a pure dragon San Chen, and I can do a very crane San Chen. So Tiger Dragon, they're in all three, and they're in San Chen, but you don't know it. So now you start Seisan, and you start practicing. You don't forget about San Chen, because you don't ever forget San Chen, because that's where you want to come back to anyways. That's the circle. So now you start doing San Chen, you start doing these other movement patterns, you do some different stepping patterns, and you do some different sequences. And these sequences blend into a new expression, a little bit more of dragon and crane, and a little bit more of tiger. You got to follow my train here, and you got to do this. One of my instructors used to always tell me there's principles and there's concepts. Principles you can talk about, concepts you have to grasp. And that's what I'm saying here. As you do these San Chen, Seisan, San Chen, Seisan, San Chen, Seisan, you start seeing tiger, dragon, crane, tiger, dragon, crane, tiger, dragon, crane, tiger, dragon, crane. It starts to evolve. The other katas stuck in there are in the way. This is my opinion. I don't, it's fine. Like I said, I don't care about the other katas. They're good. They're brilliant. They're brilliant. No, I'm not taking, never taking away. But they're in the way. Your awareness starts to process this movement pattern a little differently. Your perception changes. Now back to remember what John said, and what I talked about Sanse-Ryu. That's out there. How long did Kanai learn before Kanbum says, "Okay, son, let's do Sanse-Ryu"? Sanse-Ryu? What? You're going to teach me Sanse? Well, my instructor is like, "Okay, Mike, let's do Sanse-Ryu." I'm like, oh my! It's like a moment, and then he teaches you Sanse-Ryu, and it breaks your mind. It breaks your mind. Now, all the people out there have been doing Sanse-Ryu, Uechi-Ryu, then they broke my mind. I know. That's the mostly bad. Because we weren't taught the process correctly. I'm not saying you're taught wrong. Forget right and wrong here. I'm talking about an idea. It did not break your mind because you did not have the mind to break. You weren't prepared properly. You didn't make the transition. When you make that transition, Seisan is the evolution of it, and then it just pops. So you start seeing dragon, crane, moving, sequencing becomes different, angles become different. Oh my, there's so many things. We just gloss over that for decades because we have all these other katas. We don't see the difference between Seisan and Sanse-Ryu is massive, but not with the other katas in between. The difference between San Chen and Seisan is massive, but not with Kanchiwa, Kanchu, Dani Seisan in the way. It's not massive. It's transitory. On a technique perspective, we're okay. I get it. But the awareness concept, the evolution of form of tiger, dragon, crane, and there's others. There's more. There's a lot more. There's so much in Sanse-Ryu, it'll blow your mind. I spent 10 years on Sanse-Ryu before I understood what to do, how to do it. And it changed everything for me. We'll talk about that. But primarily, you have to see the flow of tiger, dragon, crane. And you move into this new thing of Sanse-Ryu, and you have tiger, dragon, crane, and it starts to change your idea, your awareness, your concept, your movement patterns, your way of aligning yourself changes. And this is a sub-level thing. This is training your brain in a concept. This isn't all just about the body. Now, I'm going to end with this part. This is not a long video because it doesn't need to be. To go into it in depth is a long video, but we'll do more. As we said in the very beginning, I talked about the circle of Kata. Now you have this new awareness of Sanse-Ryu. And you go back and you say, how does that work in San Chen? And everything changes again. And it's magic. And I know I'm overhyping, it sounds like it, but I can't express to you how it felt when I did this. When my instructor taught me Sansei-Ryu, and he says, now, you go do this. Let it do its thing. And when I finally stopped doing the other kata and extracted them, and then just applied Sanchen, Seisan, Sansei-Ryu, it changed everything. And then when I understood Sansei-Ryu to the level that I could at the point, there's levels, I went back to Sanchen and my Sanchen changed. It became something different. There was more tiger, dragon, crane in it. The expression of it became more obvious, not necessarily in the expression of the technique, but the expression of the movements and the concept of it. My awareness of it was completely altered. So that's the good, the bad, and the mostly bad, and then there's the great.
Oh, wow. I hope that you already know that our next video is called The Circle of Kata. So you should be looking out for that, because this is a really interesting topic for, I know it's an interesting topic for those that are practitioners of Uechi-Ryu, but even if you're not, the concepts that are being brought out are going to help you when you see the evolution of what these kata, these shadow boxing methods from ancient times in martial arts were intended to do, to integrate into your mind this evolution of technique, this understanding of these animal arts, not necessarily as styles as we talked about. Sensei Bill and I were talking about the 5 Shaolin animal arts as being as 5 emphases that are seen in one style. It's all a very, very interesting understanding that hopefully we are opening your mind to. I should say sensibility is, because I learn much more by listening in these than I actually know myself, to be honest with you. You are with the University of Karate. If you have been blessed, been interested, been awakened, I should say, by these videos and this conversation, please please subscribe to this channel. And down in the comments, keep the conversation going. You're with the University of Karate, and we'll see you again next time.